The city pulsed with its usual rhythm that evening, brake lights glowing like a sea of red, crosswalk signals blinking, vendors shouting half-heartedly as weary commuters shuffled home. The air was thick with late summer heat, the kind that clung to skin and made tempers short. Inside Bus 12, the air conditioner rattled against the strain, blasting a lukewarm breeze that barely cut the humidity. Daniel Ortiz sat in his seat, broad hands steady on the wheel, his posture a quiet pillar of routine. He had driven this route for nearly 2 decades, the ups and downs of the city mapped in his memory like the creases on his palms. He knew which stop the college kids would crowd into with headphones blaring, which intersection the old man with the cane always waved from, which block carried the smell of fried dough from the corner stand. To most passengers, he was invisible, a driver, a uniform, a fixture of their commute. To Daniel, every face mattered. Every life on his bus was his quiet responsibility. He adjusted the rearview mirror, glancing at the evening's collection, a mother rocking her toddler against her chest, a teenager scrolling on a cracked phone, 2 nurses in scrubs whispering in exhaustion, a pair of construction workers with dust still on their boots. Ordinary people. Fragile in ways they themselves didn't see. He swallowed against the thought, memories tugging at him like ghosts. 12 years ago, a cousin of his, Luis, had been trapped in a city bus when an electrical fire spread too quickly. Daniel had still been a trainee then, on a different route. He'd only heard the news on the radio, then saw the smoke in the sky from miles away. They said Luis had pounded the window, begging for help as flames licked closer. Daniel never forgave himself for not being there. For not driving. Since then, every passenger was more than a stranger, they were a promise. The bus lurched to a sudden halt, jerking Daniel from his thoughts. Ahead, traffic had frozen solid. Horns blared in uneven bursts, frustrated drivers leaning out their windows. Daniel leaned forward, peering past the bus in front of him. Something was off. A wisp of smoke curled against the skyline, not black smoke of fire, but pale, almost shimmering. The kind that came from chemical fumes. A sharp, acrid stench slipped into the air vents. Gasoline. Strong, raw, impossible to ignore. Daniel's stomach clenched. Passengers shifted uneasily. "Driver, what's happening?" a nurse asked, her voice already tinged with worry. Daniel picked up the radio mic. "Control, this is Bus 12. I'm stuck at 5th and Main, traffic locked. I smell heavy fuel up ahead. Any advisories?" Static crackled before a supervisor's voice came through, impatient, distracted. "Bus 12, maintain your route. Accident ahead, we've got crews en route. Do not deviate. Repeat, do not leave Route 12. Daniel's eyes narrowed. He knew the tone, brushed off, rigid. Rules before reason. A low boom echoed in the distance, faint but distinct, like a heavy drum. The passengers fell silent, looking at one another. The toddler began to cry, sensing the unease. Daniel's pulse kicked hard in his chest. Gasoline fumes grew stronger. The wind carried them back, seeping into every breath. He gripped the wheel, knuckles whitening. This wasn't just a fender bender. Something bigger was happening up ahead. He turned slightly in his seat, voice calm but firm. "Ladies and gentlemen, stay seated. Keep calm." But calm was already fracturing. The teenager put down his phone, staring out the window with wide eyes. One of the construction workers muttered, "That's gas. Christ, that's gas." The mother clutched her child tighter, rocking fast, whispering reassurances that sounded more like pleas. Daniel pressed the radio button again, his tone clipped. "Control, the fumes are reaching passengers. We need to reroute immediately." The reply came sharp. "Negative, Ortiz. Stay put until cleared. Deviating will be noted as insubordination. Over." His jaw tightened. Insubordination. Job on the line. Another rumble shook the air, closer this time. Heads whipped toward the front windows. Somewhere beyond the wall of trapped cars, orange light flickered against the glass. "Driver, what is that?" the teenager demanded, his voice cracking. Daniel's heart hammered. He could hear Luis's voice in his memory, The cousin who never made it out, the flames that consumed him. His own voice broke through in a whisper he hadn't meant to speak aloud. Not again. The radio crackled once more. Ortiz, hold your position. But the choice was already pressing down on him, heavy and unavoidable. In his gut, he knew. He looked at his passengers, frightened, fragile, waiting. Waiting for someone to decide if they lived or died. His hands tightened on the wheel. The boom that followed wasn't faint anymore. It thundered, rattling the bus windows. A cloud of heat shimmer rose above the stalled traffic, a warning of what was coming. The mother screamed. People began shouting, voices overlapping in a chorus of panic. Daniel slammed the transmission into gear, jaw set. Rules or no rules, there was only one route left, away from the fire. The bus roared forward, nudging between honking cars. Passengers gasped, some clutched seats, others shouted at him to stop. But Daniel didn't stop. He couldn't. His cousin's ghost rode with him in every trembling second. And as the smell thickened, as the light of fire danced brighter against the skyline, Daniel Ortiz whispered to himself like a vow. Not this time. Not on my watch. Daniel has broken orders, steering the packed bus into uncertain streets, seconds before the disaster reaches them. The bus jolted as Daniel swung it hard into a side street, tires shrieking against the asphalt. Horns erupted all around, angry drivers leaning out their windows, but the noise barely registered. All he could hear was the rush of blood in his ears, the faint hiss of fumes clinging to the air, and the echo of that explosion behind him. The passengers clung to poles and seats, shouts rising. "What are you doing?" a man barked, gripping his briefcase like a shield. "This isn't the route," another snapped, eyes wide with panic. Daniel's voice came low, steady, but urgent. "There's a gas leak ahead. An explosion. I won't let this bus sit in it." Some stared at him in disbelief. Others turned toward the windows, watching the skyline glow faintly orange where smoke curled higher. The silence that followed was laced with dread. The radio crackled again. "Ortiz! You are off route. Stop the vehicle immediately and await instructions." Daniel gritted his teeth, one hand on the wheel, the other lifting the mic. "Control, you're not here. I am. And I've got 30 lives breathing fumes. I'm moving them out." He dropped the mic, not waiting for the reply. Gasps rippled through the bus at his defiance. A nurse muttered under her breath, half in awe, half in fear. He just told them off. Daniel didn't care. His focus tunneled into the road ahead. The side street was narrow, cars pressed close to the curbs. Maneuvering the bus through felt like threading a needle. Sweat rolled down his back. "Driver, please," the young mother pleaded from the third row, her toddler wailing against her chest. Just get us safe." He gave a single nod, not looking back, but his voice softened. "That's the plan, ma'am. Hold on tight." The words steadied him. For years he'd driven through routine, memorized turns, endless schedules. Tonight, the city had become a maze of survival, and every move he made decided whether these people saw tomorrow. The bus lurched over a pothole, passengers jolting. A construction worker cursed, bracing against a pole. "You even know where the hell you're going?" Daniel's grip tightened on the wheel. His mind raced through maps he'd memorized, every alley, every service road. South. Away from the tanker. Away from the fire. That's all that matters. He caught sight of flashing blue lights in the distance, police barricades forming at the end of the block. Officers waved frantic arms, blocking the intersection. Beyond them, sirens wailed, echoing off buildings. "Stop the bus!" someone shouted. Daniel slowed, engine rumbling as the barricade loomed. An officer approached, shouting over the noise. "This road's sealed. Gas leak ahead. Turn back." The words hit like a hammer. Turn back? Back where the fumes thickened, where fire clawed closer? Daniel's chest tightened. "Driver," one of the nurses whispered, fear thick in her voice. "We're trapped, aren't we?" Daniel's eyes flicked to his rearview mirror. Faces stared back at him, pale, wide-eyed, waiting. depending. He saw Luis's face there too, his cousin pounding against the window no one opened. "No," Daniel said, voice steady, certain even if his heart pounded. "We're not trapped." The officer kept shouting, but Daniel shifted the bus into reverse, tires groaning as he backed into the narrowest of alleys. A chorus of gasps filled the bus as walls scraped close on either side. A mirror clipped brick, snapping with a crack. "What are you doing?" the briefcase man screamed. "Keeping you alive," Daniel shot back. The alley spat them out onto another street, dimly lit and cracked with neglect. No traffic. No barricades. Only shadows stretching under flickering streetlights. Relief swept the bus in a hush, until a deep, rolling roar thundered behind them. Everyone turned. The skyline glowed brighter, orange flames licking skyward, black smoke billowing high. A shockwave rippled faintly through the air, rattling the windows. "Oh my God!" whispered the mother, clutching her child. Tears streamed down her cheeks. Some passengers sobbed openly now. The teenager's phone shook in his hands as he tried to record, whispering, We almost. Daniel's throat tightened. He pressed the accelerator harder. Every second counted. The radio crackled again, sharp and furious. "Ortiz! You are finished! Do you hear me? Finished!" He clicked the mic, his voice like steel. "If I'm finished but they're alive, I'll take it." He dropped the mic again, the finality of his words echoing through the bus. For a long moment, no one spoke. Then the nurse in the back, tired, weary, her voice breaking, whispered, "God bless you, driver." Daniel's chest swelled, not with pride, but with weight. A promise heavier than any uniform. The road sloped downward now, taking them toward the industrial district. He knew there was an old service road beyond the warehouses, narrow, rough, but it led out to the southern bypass. If he could reach it, they'd be safe. But as the bus rattled toward the dim shapes of warehouses, headlights flared ahead. A truck swerved across the road, blocking the way. Men shouted, waving frantically. Daniel slowed, wary. They weren't police. Just locals, maybe workers, faces streaked with soot and panic. One banged on the bus door, shouting through the glass. "You can't go this way! More tanks down there! It'll blow!" Passengers wailed. Someone cried, "We're trapped again!" Daniel's pulse raced. Ahead, danger. Behind, fire. To the left, a wall of warehouses. To the right, a chain-link fence topped with rusting barbed wire. His mind spun through options. None were good. He closed his eyes for half a breath, and Luis's face flashed again. Begging. Burning. Not this time. Daniel opened his eyes, spotting a narrow break in the fence, barely wide enough for a bus if he aimed right. The old service road, he remembered now, cut behind the fence. Dangerous, uneven, but it was their only chance. He shifted gears, ignoring shouts from passengers, ignoring the pounding of blood in his head. His hands trembled once, just once, before steadying. He whispered to himself, barely audible, "Guide me through, Lord. Just this once." And with that, he steered the bus toward the gap in the fence. The passengers screamed as the chain links scraped metal, sparks flying in the dark. The bus shuddered, tires crunching over gravel, steel groaning like a living beast under strain. "Driver, you'll kill us!" the briefcase man shouted. But Daniel's eyes locked forward, jaws set. "Or I'll save you." Behind them, another explosion ripped through the night. The skyline glowed like a furnace. The bus rattled forward, battered but moving, breaking through into the hidden road. Silence fell inside, broken only by sobs, prayers, and the hum of the engine. Daniel kept driving, every breath a vow. They weren't safe yet. But they were closer. Daniel has forced the bus onto a narrow, forgotten service road. Behind them, the city burns. Ahead, unknown dangers wait. He has saved them for now, but at what cost? The service road stretched like a scar through the city's forgotten edges, uneven asphalt, patches of gravel, weeds pushing through cracks. Darkness swallowed it whole, the only light spilling from the bus's dim headlights. The engine groaned with every bump, every desperate push forward. Inside, the passengers sat in silence now, the panic beaten out of them by exhaustion and fear. Whispers of prayer floated between sobs, a murmur that seemed to rise and fall with the rhythm of the bus. Daniel's hands locked on the wheel, shoulders rigid, eyes scanning the road ahead. Every rattle, every creak of the frame, felt like a test. But he wouldn't let go. Not until they were clear. The mother near the front clutched her sleeping toddler, finally worn out from crying. She caught Daniel's eye in the mirror, lips trembling. "Thank you," she mouthed. He gave the slightest nod, not trusting his voice. Gratitude was too heavy to bear when the job wasn't done. The radio sputtered again, static spitting before the supervisor's voice cut through. "Ortiz! Stop this madness! You're endangering lives! Pull over and wait for emergency crews, now!" Daniel stared at the road, jaw clenched. He didn't reach for the mic. Not this time. He had already answered them. The silence on the line stretched, then the voice returned, harsher. "You'll never drive again if you keep this up." Daniel finally exhaled, steady, almost calm. Under his breath he whispered, "Then let this be my last route." The bus jolted over a rise, headlights spilling over the path ahead, and his stomach dropped. The service road narrowed to a sharp bend. Beyond it, a collapsed section of asphalt gaped open, washed out from storms long ago. A jagged ditch yawned where the road should have been. Gasps erupted as passengers spotted it too. "We can't go that way!" the briefcase man cried, panic renewed. "We're finished!" "No!" Daniel barked, louder than he intended, startling even himself. He steadied his tone. "We're not finished. Hold on." He slowed, eyes darting left and right. The ditch stretched across most of the road, but not all. To the side, a narrow strip of dirt and broken concrete angled upward, barely wide enough for the bus. Dangerous. One wrong move, and the wheels would slide into the pit. The construction worker stood, voice booming. "You'll flip us over if you try that." Daniel's hands trembled on the wheel, the image of Luis flashing again, flames, fists against glass. Failure. But then the mother's voice cut through the fear, soft but fierce. "Driver, please! My son! Get us through!" Her eyes met his in the mirror, full of trust. Not blind, but chosen. Daniel swallowed hard. He turned to the bus, voice carrying steady despite the thunder in his chest. "I need you all to trust me. Grip your seats. Brace yourselves. We don't stop here." A ripple of fear swept the passengers, but no one moved to stop him. Some clutched poles, others pressed heads into hands, but they stayed. Daniel whispered a prayer under his breath and pressed the accelerator. The bus roared forward. The right tires skimmed the narrow strip, gravel spitting as the chassis tilted dangerously. Screams pierced the air. The left wheels hovered inches from the ditch's jagged edge. Daniel's arms strained, steering with everything in him. The bus shuddered, teetering, frame groaning like it might snap. Come on, he muttered, sweat stinging his eyes. For one terrifying second, the left side dropped, wheels skidding. The entire bus tilted, screams crescendoing. Daniel grunted, wrestling the wheel, heart pounding like a war drum. Then, miraculously, the tires caught grip. The bus lunged forward, slamming onto solid ground. Cheers and sobs erupted behind him. Some passengers wept openly, others clapped trembling hands. The mother hugged her child so tight the boy squeaked. Daniel exhaled shakily, shoulders sagging for the first time. But he didn't slow. Not yet. Minutes stretched like hours as the road wound farther from the city's glow. Finally, the industrial shadows gave way to a highway on-ramp. Streetlights flickered above the open lanes, clear, safe, free. A collective gasp of relief filled the bus. Some began clapping, hesitant at first, then louder. Others whispered, "Thank God," again and again. Daniel slowed at last, easing the bus onto the shoulder. The engine idled, a tired beast after its trial. For the first time in hours, silence didn't feel heavy, it felt like air. He turned in his seat, facing them. 30 pairs of eyes met his, tearful, wide, alive. He cleared his throat, voice low. "You're safe now." A pause, then the nurse and Scrubs whispered, "Reverend, you saved us." The words rippled through the bus, soft murmurs of agreement, gratitude swelling until it filled the space. Daniel's chest ached, but he said nothing. What could he say? He wasn't a hero. He was just a man who refused to stop driving. Red and blue lights flickered in the distance, emergency vehicles finally reaching the highway. Sirens wailed, racing toward the chaos they'd left behind. The radio crackled once more. The supervisor's voice sounded smaller now, shaken. "Ortiz. Status?" Daniel lifted the mic slowly, eyes still on his passengers. His voice came steady, almost gentle. "Bus 12. All souls on board, alive." He set the mic down. The weight lifted, not completely, but enough. The bus windows glowed faintly from the reflection of the distant inferno, but here was survival. Hope. Daniel faced forward again, hands resting loosely on the wheel. He knew what waited: paperwork, reprimands, maybe the end of his career. But none of that mattered. He whispered, too quiet for anyone else to hear. "Not this time, Luis. Not this time." And as the bus idled safely under the glow of streetlights, Daniel Ortiz sat in silence, a humble man who had carried dozens through fire and fear, not for glory, not for reward, but because he could not do otherwise. That night, he would not be in headlines. But every soul on that bus would remember. And in the quiet of their lives, his courage would echo. He would never be in the headlines. But on that night, dozens lived because one bus driver refused to stop driving.